So, welcome back to Carp Lounge Tackle. In this one, quite an interesting topic, I think, and that's bait spread at various depths, various baits, that kind of thing. You know, so without further ado, let's get into it then, shall we? Now, what we're looking at here is 1 kilo of baits. It's always 1 kilo we've done as a test, yeah? This one is at 2 meters. But if you look at that, you'll see it now when a hopper opens. It's one hopper, 1 kilo of baits, like I said. But if you look, I mean, they're touching. You know, there's virtually no spread at all. You know, and I think that's quite surprising. You know, and it shows you how little 1 kilo of baits really is. I mean, it's nothing. It's a small area. It's maybe 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters. And that's all the attraction you've got there. Now you're fishing for carp, you know, shoaler fish. You know, there's not much room in there really to create an effective baiting area. So let's try the same thing. We're going to do boilies now, but we're going to do it instead of 2 meters. We're going to do it 5 meters. And I think here you do get a little bit more spread, but it's maybe 1 meter by 1 meter. I mean, it's still compact, you know. And that's it. It's a kilo of baits. And you imagine, you know, putting this out, that's not a big area. You know, it's something to definitely think about. I mean, some people, they want that compact baiting, you know, but I mean, I think a lot of the times you fish, you want a bigger baited area, you know, and if you look at that, that's not that big, you know. Like I said, 1 meter by 1 meter, something like that. So you just see the boat just spins around now just to get a better view of it. It's a little bit more spread, but it's not a big spread. You know, so I think just be aware of it, you know. So now we'll move on to, this was at 5 meters, this one. We're going to move over to pellets at 5 meters. You know, these decent sized pellets they are, you know. Once again, it's not a big spread, you know. It's still really compact. So it just does bear thinking about baiting up, you know. How are you going to do it? Whether you go more times, that kind of thing, you know. Because I know in my fishing, it's made a difference how I bait up. I'll go on to that further. So now we've got, at the moment, we've got boilies there and we've got pellets there. They're decent sized pellets, like I said. So what we're going to move on to now is maize, and it will also be at 5 meters. Now the first thing you notice straight away, it's a lot slower. You know, it's maize, it's not as dense. So, but once again, it still falls in a compact area. You know, there's none of that bait spread. Now, okay, the boat is stationary each time, but as you'll see in later videos, doesn't make a lot of difference if the boat's moving. So that's maybe 1 meter by 1 meter, something like that. You know, it's not large, that's for sure. You know, so definitely something to think about. So if we move on now, we're going to do the overview of the maize, the boilies and the pellets. So you can see what the whole area looks like. Now this here is a decent spread because, you know, it's maize, it's boilies, it's pellets, and it's all been done in slightly different areas. You know, so now you've got an effective baiting situation. You know, it's spread out probably over a 4 meter area. You know, it's a good spread, but there's also gaps in between. You know, so something to definitely think about. Now, if we're going to move on to the next one, which is boilies at 10 meters. Once again, it's not a large spread. You know, it's not. You know, for a shoaler fish, that's definitely pretty slim pickings, really, because you can see a lot of them are even touching. You know, I mean, they're really close. It's clumps, you know, 20 boilies here, 10 boilies there, but it's all within 1 meter by 1 meter, you know, so that's quite interesting. And look at that, straight down. There's hardly any turning, nothing. It's literally straight down. You know, it definitely bears thinking about because, like I said, if you're trying to create a large baited area, this is definitely not the way to go, you know. And that's 10 meters. That's a big depth, you know. So if we move on to the next video, which is pellets at 10 meters. See, they're not turning, they're not spinning. It's just a straight drop. You know, I think that's really, really surprising. You know, you think, okay, 10 metres, that's a real depth. You know, you'd think it'll spread out more. It's not spreading out very much. You know, so always bear it in mind when you're baiting up. This is what it's going to look like. You know, we've had the depths. We've had 2 metres. We've had 5 metres, and now 10 metres. It's just not a large spread on its own. Now, if you're doing multiple trips, then it's a spread. Then you'll get a feeding area fairly large, because it will never be in exactly the same spot. You know, so you can. There are ways of creating a baited area. But I mean, look at this. It's all touching. It's just clumps, just touching. It's pretty unbelievable. So now we're going to move on to maize at 10 metres. And I think you're getting the gist of where this is going. Now, it'll be a lot slower, you know, because the weight of the bait. I think it takes something like 60 seconds at least for the bait to go down completely. So it is slower. But once again, no spread. You know, I mean, look. Same thing, metre by metre, maximum. You know, you've got the odd corn here and there, you know, a little bit spread out. But by and large, it's a compact area. You know, and like I said, some people want that. Most people don't. You know, you want a bigger area, I think, anyway. You know, in my fishing, they're fairly big lakes. They're natural. You know, you're fishing big bars, that kind of thing. You know, you want to spread your bait along it. So, but we'll come to that later on. But once again, 10 metres. Maize, not a big area, you know. So now we're going to have an overview of what they all look like together. So there you can see it. You've got the maize, it's yellow, you know, it's bright. You've got your boilies over here, that kind of thing. You know, your pellets over here. It's a decent spread now, you know, but once again, it's 3 trips in 10 metres. And that's a decent spread, you know, it's a good area. You know, fish will be able to move in, feed, they've got space, you know, that kind of thing. But that is 3 trips, you know, and if you're fishing, I don't know, 150 metres, 200 metres, you know, that's quite a lot of battery power. To get that kind of spread, 3-4 trips, you know. Okay, you've got both hoppers in that situation, if that's how you're fishing. But even so, you know, you're still talking 2 trips for sure. You know, and definitely you know, you don't want to be using the autopilot in this situation. Just open 1, open 2 and go, you know, because that's definitely not the way to do it if you want a larger area. So you can see the maize is spread out there, you know, it's a large area. You know, this one, when they done this, this one was done with the hopper, with the boat moving. You can see it's a bigger area for sure. You know, you're probably talking a couple of metres squared. You know, but still, even so, this is while the boat is moving. It's not a big difference. You know, it's a difference for sure, but definitely not as big as I thought it was. I mean, when I'm baiting up, I'm on the move. But it's made me realise, you know, some of these things, you know, bait less but more often. You know, to spread it out a little bit. You know, because before, you know, big loads of bait, dumping it in there, away you go. That's not the way forward, I don't think, you know. So, I mean, I do use spirals, and, you know, that's the way to go, in my opinion, which we'll move on to sort of now, if you like. So, what's this one? So, as you can see, here's the boat. You see 1 hopper, you know, so only 1 hopper has got the spiral. Now, look at that spread. You control it, you know, so you can do a hell of a lot more with not so much bait, you know. That's how you spread bait. It's as simple as that. It's definitely the way forward, you know. I mean, I do use my spirals as well, but it's still shocking to me that obviously I don't use them all the time, you know, pure laziness sometimes, but it's still shocking when you look at that, how much of a spread you can achieve using a spiral. So this is definitely the way to go if you want to save battery power. You know, you just want to spread a decent amount of bait. Put 1 spiral in. You know, one side for the hopper in your bait, you drop that, and then spiral it. You know, you can direct it so you can create any kind of shapes you want. You know, on bars you can go the length of the bar, that kind of thing. You can do shelves. The possibilities are endless, you know. So next one I'm going to have a look at is spirals from underneath. I mean, look at it. It's you know, it's the perfect way to bait, and let's be honest. You know, if you can't afford 2 spirals, just get 1 spiral. But definitely, I think, you know, the way forward is definitely at least 1 spiral. You know, you've got a massive spread. It doesn't matter what size bait you use, sinking fast, sinking slow. It's just an all-round effective way of baiting up. You know, especially if you're, you know, doing an area for like two, 3 rods. You know, you're fishing fairly compact. You want to keep it in like a 5 meter sort of line, if you like. Then it's definitely the way forward. Look at it. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. Now, I know there's other systems on the market for different bait boats. You know, you've got that. There's like it's round. It sits on top and it twirls and spreads the bait. But the problem you've got there is, you know, I don't know, fishing up against reeds. You know, you're giving half the feed to the fish, and the other half the bloody beaver's getting it. You know, it's not great. This is why we think definitely spirals are the way forward. And as you can see, it's just much more effective. You know, so think about your fishing. You know, what you're trying to achieve, and how you go about doing it. You know, I'm not saying I'm not saying you have to buy a spiral. You know, but then feed less and take the boat out more. You know, to spread the bait out. You know, just little things. You know, it's all going to improve your fishing. Okay, so I hope it's been a little bit interesting for you, and you know, it's definitely an eye-opener for me anyway. So with that, I shall bid you farewell, and we'll wait for the next one. See you later.